Hello and welcome. The growth and fortunes of the pharmaceutical industry to some extent or a large extent depend on the healthcare industry as a whole. How has India fared on that regard? And let's get an interesting outside-in perspective from Dr. Safia Rizvi, Managing Director at UCB India, which is part of UCB, the Belgian 3.2 billion euro pharmaceutical conglomerate. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Rizvi. So tell us, you've been here for a couple of years. Before that, you used to work for GSK, and at one point you were teaching in the US. So what have you seen in the Indian healthcare pharmaceutical market, and where do you see the points of confluence or divergence which need to be addressed?
I think Indian healthcare industry, just as I said earlier, is anywhere else pharma industry exists in the context of healthcare industry, similarly in India. And there is of course the provider segment, which is the physician and the hospital and other healthcare providers, and then comes the supplier where pharma exists. The third element, which is the payer element, which in many other societies is the insurer or the government. India is slightly different in that perspective because it's largely private market and out-of-pocket market. So the patient is also the payer.
Right.
In other markets, the three, payer, provider, and supplier, together work to help the patient. In this case, the payer is also the patient. So that makes the dynamics quite different.
Right.
And certainly, given the population size, given the demography, given the other circumstances, infrastructure issues, there is much more that needs to happen, and it is gradually happening.
Right.
But pharma industry is one pillar, or rather one piece of the puzzle of the larger healthcare solution.
Right. So tell us about UCB. What are the two or three areas that you are focused on, and how do you see the opportunities in those markets?
So UCB globally is focused on CNS, central nervous system diseases, and immunology. And we have been in India for almost 60 years. Yeah. 1959 we came with a partnership, and we have products that have served in allergy market. We have products that have served in the vertigo markets, and of course every year we serve millions of patients in India, and we continue to aspire to, because obviously 1.2 billion people are important to us, and the company's tagline or company's value is inspired by patients, driven by science. Okay. And of course, we are driven by science, and when we talk about the patients, India is a large part of the world's patient population or potential patient population.
Right. So you talked about central nervous system. So is that a key part of your market here?
It is indeed. We are very much focused on epilepsy. In fact, UCB globally has discovered and developed some really remarkable molecules. Levetiracetam, which is one of the key solution for epilepsy, was discovered and developed by UCB by the brand name of Keppra, and another one is Vimpat, which is our lacosamide, and these are the two molecules that have changed the way epilepsy is treated across the globe.
How bad is the problem in a country like India?
It is pretty serious. It is the prevalence of epilepsy is very similar to the rest of the globe. It's about 1 in 1,000 people are suffering from epilepsy. But very interesting part is that the prevalence is almost the double in rural India as opposed to urban India, which is really, in some ways, it's quite devastating because, of course, the resources are limited too. And of course, the awareness, the education about epilepsy is rather limited, and I'm sure you understand the cultural stigmas and taboos that are associated with a disease like epilepsy. So UCB's mission is to provide the overall solution of epilepsy to the patient, not just the medicine, of course, which we have we are very proud of our medicine Keppra, and very proud of our lacosamide, which is Seasguard. But aside from that, we also have a number of patient assistance programs, such as Live Beyond Epilepsy, where we provide counseling to the patients regardless of whatever therapy they are on. We provide counseling to stick to their therapy, make sure to address the quality of life issues. We also arrange meetings, what we call hope meetings, and hope meetings are helping other people with epilepsy, where we actually support newly diagnosed epilepsy patient to have meetings and groups support system with people who have been living with epilepsy for a long period of time.
Right.
So that allows them to really share experiences and deal with epilepsy as a disease as opposed to a character flaw or a curse or something devastating.
So can it be cured? I think let me ask you the fundamental question.
So epilepsy can be managed. Epilepsy, the major element is the seizure. I'm of course not a neurologist, so my comment, I would refrain from the exact medical comment here, but with the appropriate treatment, epilepsy can be managed, and a patient of epilepsy can live a high quality normal life.
Right, and that's something that, so that's one area. You said there's another area that you're focused on, that's immunology, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So just tell us quickly what kind of drugs or areas that you're focusing on there.
So globally, we have a product called Cimzia, which is currently not launched in India, but it is for rheumatoid arthritis, and now we are working for other indications. Within India, we have products for allergy, which everyone knows, Zyrtec and Zyzal. These products have treated across the globe people with allergic rhinitis. We have products for vertigo. Vertigo, people in India have quite a few symptoms, and they often complain about spinning head and other symptoms like that. And we have products that have served patients in that area. I want to specifically bring your attention to something that we absolutely value, which is why we are here. Why anyone would come to India and be present, and it certainly is just very much related to the mission that we carry, and the mission is to be there for the patients. And we would like to, and like all other organizations as well, like to work with the government. We'd like to work with other partners, and I think that's where the solution lies.
Then is that a way of also saying that you would like a friendlier patent regime, or?
I think I would not comment on that. Of course, that is obvious. But my view on this one is simply, organizations are very much like, they're living organisms. They're like human beings. Whatever you incentivize happens to human being. If we incentivize copying, then the copying will be prevalent in India. If we incentivized innovation, then the innovation would be prevalent in India. So it is our decision as a society, as a nation, what is it that we want to see India as? Do we want to see India as a global, generic, cheap drug supplier, or we want to see India as a hub of pharmaceutical innovation that actually not only helps Indian patient but can be exported outside? So this is where I think the question is. I think the patent regime is a very limited version of it, but ultimately, what do we want India to be? If we want India to be that innovation hub, if we want India to live to its real potential, then we must reward innovation.
Right, Dr. Rizvi, I think you've asked and answered the questions yourself quite effectively. Thank you very much for speaking with us.